'Twas Thanksgiving Eve, back in 1971. He had on a pair of sunglasses. There wasn't any sun. He used the name Dan Cooper when he paid for the flight that was going to Seattle on that cold and nasty night. November 1971. The world was introduced to a figure who would etch his name into the annals of crime history. D.B. Cooper purchased a ticket under the name Dan Copper, which media outlets mistakenly cited as the infamous name we all know today. Cooper embarked on a daring heist that would capture the imagination of millions, sparking decades of intrigue and true crime enthusiasts like yourselves, dear viewers. Today, the case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Join us on a captivating journey as we delve into the enigma surrounding D.B. Cooper. Sit back and relax while we delve into the crime and 5 potential perpetrators that could be D.B. Cooper. November 24th, 1971. A chilly evening in the Pacific Northwest. Northwest Orient Flight 305. A Boeing 727 aircraft was preparing to take off from Portland International Airport. Little did anyone know that this flight would soon become synonymous with one of the most successful heists in history. Boarding the plane is Dan Cooper, with a briefcase containing wires and cylinders easily recognizable as a bomb that went undetected by airport security, due to a lack of precedent that would necessitate such checks. Dan Copper asked for a one-way ticket to Seattle, a 30-minute puddle jump. Sitting in the last row of the plane, seat 18C, Cooper lit a cigarette and ordered a bourbon and soda, passing Florence Schaffner a note. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit beside me." She adhered. He told her, "I want $200,000 by 5 p.m. in cash. Put in a knapsack. I want 2 back parachutes and 2 front parachutes. When we land, I want a fuel truck ready to refuel. No funny stuff or I'll do the job." Mid-flight, Cooper calmly handed a note to Florence Schaffner, one of the flight attendants to whom Cooper suddenly popped open and flashed the contents of the briefcase. The note contained chilling demands, $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The pilot, William Scott, contacted the authorities and informed them of a middle-aged man of medium height and build, brown eyes and black suit. Others described Cooper as having perky ears, thin lips, a wide forehead, and receding hair. Cooper's calm demeanor, coupled with his detailed knowledge of aircraft operations, sent shivers down everyone's spine. The plane landed in Seattle, where the ransom was delivered, and passengers were exchanged for fuel. Landing with the plane and meeting with the authorities was never part of Cooper's plan. It is speculated that 2 parachutes and 2 reserve chutes were requested to indicate that Cooper had planned to jump from the plane with 1 or more hostages. The flight attendants gave Cooper a rundown of how to extend the plane's staircase, Cooper's exit point. As the plane resumed its journey, Cooper ordered it to fly to Mexico City at no more than 10,000 feet, with the rear door open and the stairs deployed. And then, in a moment that would mark the man as a legend in the True Crime Hall of Fame, Cooper leapt out into the inky darkness, vanishing without a single trace. Despite an exhaustive search and investigation, no sign of Cooper was ever found, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions, countless potential suspects, and theories about what happened on Flight 305 of the Northwest Orient. The manhunt for D.B. Cooper was one of the largest in U.S. history. Investigators pursued countless leads, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed evidence, yet the identity of the enigmatic hijacker remained elusive. Composite sketches, descriptions, and eyewitness accounts painted a vague picture, leading to a multitude of potential suspects. Today, we explore the lives of 5 individuals who have been connected to the D.B. Cooper case, delving into their backgrounds, motives, and the evidence that implicates or exonerates them. Out a little service doorway in the rear of the plane, Cooper jumped into the darkness, into the freezing rain. They say with the wind chill, it was 69 below. Not much chance that he'd survive, but if he did, where did he go? Kenneth Peter Christensen, lust for life. Kenneth Peter Christensen, a Northwest Airlines flight attendant, emerges as a potential suspect in the D.B. Cooper case due to his proximity to the crime and certain circumstances surrounding his life. While the evidence connecting Christensen to the hijacking remains circumstantial, his background, possible motive, and discovered belongings have raised eyebrows and fueled speculation among investigators and armchair detectives alike. Born on June 4, 1929 in Tacoma, Washington, Christensen joined Northwest Airlines in 1954, serving as a flight attendant for several years. Known for his amiable personality, he was well liked among his colleagues. However, behind his friendly demeanor, Christensen may have harbored financial difficulties that could have played a role in the hijacking. Some theorists propose that Christensen, facing mounting financial pressures, saw the hijacking as an opportunity to secure a substantial sum of money. The ransom demanded by Cooper, $200,000 in cash, was an astronomical figure at the time and could have offered a way out of his financial woes. This motive, combined with Christensen's access to restricted areas and knowledge of aircraft operations, makes him an intriguing suspect to say the least. Following Christensen's death on January 31, 1994, his brother Lyle Christensen made a startling discovery while sorting through his belongings. Tucked away amongst his possessions, Lyle found a newspaper article about the D.B. Cooper case, catching his attention and raising suspicions. Additionally, Lyle discovered a significant sum of cash, prompting further speculation about his brother's potential involvement. 3 decades of federal agents had seemingly overlooked such an obvious potential candidate for the D.B. Cooper title. Lyle claimed Kenneth was top of his high school class his whole life, having his pick of 12 private colleges and a taste for the finer things in life. Always looking to make a buck, Lyle states. However, instead of choosing the studious life, Kenneth chose to fight in 1944, considering Air Force, but choosing the Army, specifically the well-paid paratrooper division. "There is something you should know, but I cannot tell you," Kenny Christensen told his brother on his deathbed. Skip Porteous, an investigator looking into the Cooper affair, found a profile match from years ago. The federal agent suspected a paratrooper, someone with guts who didn't care much for technical specifics, only specifying front and back chutes. While Lyle worked as a telephone operator on Bikini Atoll, the primary testing ground for nuclear weapons after the Second World War, Kenneth would take odd jobs selling magazine subscriptions to save for traveling while exploring the country. Along the way, Kenny found himself working for airlines. First hired as a technician working on planes in Shemya, an island in the Aleutians, he began working as a mechanic and was later rehired as a flight attendant in 1956. Ultimately, this led to his relocation to Washington, where he was promoted to purser, dealing with customs and immigration agents, as well as managing finances for the airlines. Property records show a purchase by Kenny for a ranch in Booney Lake, a small mountain town in the Cascades, for $14 grand. The purchase was made in 1972, just a year after Cooper's jump, followed by another purchase in 1973 for a 1.5k parcel of land. He was almost invisible, says Harry Honda, a Northwest purser who worked with Kenny. If you asked somebody on his plane who was the purser on that flight, they couldn't tell you. That's how quiet this guy was. If they had a layover, Kenny would not go out with the staff. He was non-communicative, says Mary Patricia Laffey-Inman, a Northwest purser. He kept to himself. He was a plaid shirt guy, says Lyle Gehring, another Northwest purser who worked alongside Kenny for years. You ask people and say, "Ken Christensen," they say, "Who?" When the package of photos from Lyle living in Morris, Minnesota arrived in the mail, Skip looked at Kenny Christensen for the first time. It was uncanny, really. Skip says, he looked just like the sketch. He had more questions for his brother. Did Kenny ever make extravagant purchases? Only his house and some land, Lyle said. Did Kenny drink bourbon? Yes, Lyle said. Kenny loved bourbon so much that he collected bourbon bottles. Did he smoke? Yes. It almost fit perfectly. There was a wealth of detail, a full portrait of a man who possessed so many of Cooper's traits. A polite, quiet paratrooper with a secret life. These clues added a layer of intrigue to the already mysterious persona of Kenneth Christensen. Could the newspaper article suggest Kenny felt sentimental? Could the cash have been linked to the ransom money extorted during the hijacking? These questions lingered, yet concrete evidence directly linking Christensen to the crime remains to be seen. Eyewitness accounts played another curious role in considering Christensen as a suspect. Several witnesses who interacted with D.B. Cooper during the hijacking recalled his voice, which bore a resemblance to Christensen's voice. Florence herself even recalled a striking resemblance between the two, but denied Kenneth as a potential subject based on a significant difference in hairstyle and color. Despite these intriguing circumstances, there are discrepancies and gaps in the evidence implicating Christensen. The lack of a direct link between Christensen and the hijacking remains a significant challenge in establishing his involvement. Some may argue that his expertise as a paratrooper and the newspaper clipping discovered by his brother, combined with the large sums of cash spent on land just a year after the skyjacking and the deathbed confession, would make Christensen an obvious candidate. However, the account from Florence and expert investigators heavily rules out this man as the infamous skyjacker. Kenny's story exemplifies the complexities and mysteries that surround the D.B. Cooper saga. While he presents intriguing circumstances and a possible motive, the lack of concrete evidence and definitive ties to the crime leave his involvement open to speculation. Investigators and armchair sleuths continue to explore the enigma surrounding Christensen, hoping to uncover the truth behind his connection, if any, the infamous hijacking that gave birth to the legend of D.B. Cooper. Robert Wesley Ragstraw, troubled past, familiar pattern. Robert Wesley Ragstraw, former Army helicopter pilot and person of interest in the D.B. Cooper case, a complex figure who embodies the intrigue and mystery surrounding the unsolved hijacking. Ragstraw's troubled past, criminal record, and intriguing connections to the Cooper case have made him a compelling suspect in the minds of investigators and armchair detectives, seeking answers to one of the greatest mysteries in American history. Born on March 22, 1944, Ragstraw served as a helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War. His military training, which included parachute instruction, equipped him with the skills necessary to execute a daring airborne escape like that of D.B. Cooper. Ragstraw's military background, combined with his criminal record, makes him an intriguing figure to explore in the context of the Cooper case. In 1972, Ragstraw found himself in the spotlight after he executed a similar hijacking to the one attributed to D.B. Cooper. This incident took place on a domestic flight in the western United States and involved extortion and parachuting. Ragstraw's boldness and the similarities between the two hijackings have raised questions about whether he was inspired by the Cooper case or if there was a deeper connection. Ragstraw's criminal record stretches back to his early adulthood. In 1968, he faced charges related to fraud and embezzlement. Ragstraw was accused of stealing nearly $100,000 from his employer, a computer company in California. The charges resulted in a conviction, and Ragstraw served time in prison for his crimes. Following his release, Ragstraw's troubled past continued to haunt him. In 1971, around the time of the D.B. Cooper hijacking, Ragstraw faced another legal entanglement. He was charged with grand theft auto and transporting stolen property across state lines. While these charges were unrelated to the Cooper case, they highlight a pattern of criminal behavior and a propensity for engaging in illicit activities. Shortly following the Cooper hijacking, Ragstraw was arrested, tried, and eventually acquitted due to insufficient evidence. However, during the investigation, authorities discovered several items that fueled suspicion about his potential involvement in the D.B. Cooper case. At his residence, investigators found materials related to skydiving, cryptography, and the Cooper case itself. The presence of these items added weight to the theory that Ragstraw may have been connected to both hijackings. While the circumstantial evidence is compelling, definitive proof linking Ragstraw to the D.B. Cooper case has remained elusive. Critics argue that the similarities between the two hijackings could be coincidental, and the discovered items may have been part of a broader fascination with a crime or a simple interest in the Cooper case as a cultural phenomenon. Without a smoking gun, the true extent of Ragstraw's involvement, if any, remains unknown. Ragstraw's motives for the hijackings are also a subject of speculation. Some theorists propose that he may have been seeking revenge against the government, possibly due to personal grievances related to his military service. Others suggest that Ragstraw's actions could be attributed to a thirst for adventure or the desire for notoriety. However, without concrete evidence or a confession, determining his true motivations remains a challenge. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence linking Ragstraw to the Cooper case, the cloud of suspicion surrounding him persists. The public's fascination with the enigma of D.B. Cooper and the similarities between the hijackings have kept Ragstraw in the spotlight as a person of interest. We at Ace Mysteries consider the case of Robert Wesley Ragstraw to be one that highlights a man with a troubled past, military background, and notable experience stealing money and the capacity to do so in large quantities. While the similarities between this man's actions in comparison to D.B. Cooper's are staggering to say the least, not much conclusive evidence directly links Ragstraw to the Cooper case. Barbara Dayton, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Barbara Dayton, another suspect in the D.B. Cooper case, has captured the attention of investigators and amateur detectives due to her unique background and potential connections to the legendary hijacking. As a transgender woman, Dayton's knowledge and life make her an unconventional suspect in the search for D.B. Cooper. Born Robert Dayton in 1926, Barbara underwent gender reassignment surgery in 1969, making her one of the few known transgender individuals during that era. Her journey as a transgender woman in the 1960s and 1970s was undoubtedly filled with challenges and experiences that may have influenced her actions and perspectives. One aspect that raised suspicion around Dayton was her alleged expertise in aviation and skydiving. Some theorists propose that her knowledge and skills in these areas could have been instrumental in executing the daring skyjacking. According to some theories, Dayton had a background as a pilot during the Second World War. To provide her with a deep understanding of aircraft operations and procedures, this familiarity with aviation may have played a crucial role in planning and executing the hijacking attributed to D.B. Cooper. Additionally, Dayton's reported knowledge of skydiving techniques increases the likelihood of this suspect having the capacity to commit such a daring stunt. Skydiving requires a precise understanding of parachute deployment, landing techniques, and the overall mechanics of safely exiting an aircraft in flight. If Dayton possessed expertise in skydiving, it would have provided her with valuable skills for a successful escape following the hijacking. It is worth noting that the extent of Dayton's aviation knowledge and experience remains largely speculative. While some sources suggest that she had pilot training and skydiving experience, further evidence shows that Barbara was unsuccessful in obtaining a commercial pilot's license for a number of years. Yet another suspect with the motivation to hold a grudge against the commercial flight industry. Additionally, Dayton's involvement in criminal activities and encounters with the law brought her under further scrutiny. She had a history of non-violent offenses such as check fraud and forgery, which revealed a propensity for engaging in illegal activities for personal gain. While these crimes are unrelated to the Cooper case, they provide insight into Dayton's character and her willingness to fly a bit too close to the boundaries of the law. Despite uncanny connections, concrete evidence directly linking Dayton to the D.B. Cooper case remains elusive. Theories surrounding her potential involvement remain speculative and open to interpretation. Investigators have not uncovered definitive proof connecting her to the hijacking beyond the circumstantial evidence and intriguing associations mentioned earlier. Dayton's status as a transgender woman adds a unique perspective to the investigation into the Cooper case. Her inclusion into the list of potential suspects demonstrates the diversity of individuals who may have played a role in the unsolved mystery. It serves as a reminder that the investigation team would have been working to their limits to find answers. No wonder Cooper slipped through the cracks. As the investigation into the D.B. Cooper case continues, the true identity and fate of the infamous hijacker remains unknown. Dayton's presence as a potential suspect adds complexity to the search for answers, offering a unique lens through which to examine the events surrounding the hijacking. With each passing day, investigators and enthusiasts delve deeper into the mysterious shroud surrounding Barbara Dayton, hoping to uncover the truth behind her potential connection to one of the most captivating unsolved crimes in American history. An intriguing aspect of Dayton's story is her alleged connection to Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., another hijacker, who executed a similar aircraft hijacking just 5 months after the D.B. Cooper incident. McCoy's case shares striking similarities with the Cooper hijacking, leading some theorists to speculate that Dayton and McCoy may have been acquainted or potentially collaborated on their respective crimes. The proximity and timing and the parallels between the two cases fuel the speculation surrounding Dayton's involvement. Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. is a significant figure in the D.B. Cooper case due to his striking similarities to the legendary hijacker. McCoy executed a similar aircraft hijacking just 5 months after the Cooper incident, leading to speculation about a potential connection between the two cases. In April 1972, McCoy, a former Army Green Beret, hijacked a commercial airliner, demanding a $500,000 ransom and 4 parachutes. Witnesses claim he displayed a cold, calculated manner during the hijacking, reminiscent of the unidentified Cooper. McCoy eventually parachuted from the aircraft with the ransom money, leaving the crew and passengers unharmed. McCoy's hijacking and subsequent arrest drew parallels to the Cooper case. The two incidents shared numerous similarities, such as the selection of a Boeing 727 aircraft, the use of a pseudonym, James W. Johnson, and the demand for a large sum of money. These striking resemblances fueled speculation that McCoy may have been connected to the D.B. Cooper hijacking and fed it into theories that McCoy and Cooper were the same individuals. During his criminal proceedings, McCoy maintained a plea of innocence in the Cooper case, insisting that he played no part in the crime. However, his assertion did little to quell the theories linking him to the elusive skyjacker. The similarities in their methods and the proximity of their crimes within a relatively short time frame raised suspicions and led investigators to explore the possibility of a connection. While there were intriguing parallels between McCoy's hijacking and the Cooper case, concrete evidence linking him to the D.B. Cooper case remained elusive. Despite speculation and theories, investigators could not definitively establish a direct connection between the two individuals. The identity and fate of D.B. Cooper, as well as any potential involvement of McCoy, remains unsolved to this day. Tragically, McCoy's story took a fatal turn in November 1974 when he died during a shootout with the FBI. The confrontation occurred during a bank robbery attempt, suggesting that McCoy had continued his criminal activities after the hijacking. McCoy's death meant that any potential insight he might have provided into the Cooper case was lost forever. McCoy and Dayton, partners in crime. While there is no definitive evidence linking Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. and Barbara Dayton in the D.B. Cooper case, some theorists have explored potential connections between the two individuals. The proximity of their crimes and similar circumstances have been a point of discussion over the case. Both McCoy and Dayton were involved in aircraft hijackings within a relatively short time frame. McCoy executed his hijacking in April 1972, while Dayton's alleged involvement in the Cooper case was speculated to have occurred in November 1971. The close proximity of their crimes and the similarities in their methods raised eyebrows among investigators and armchair detectives. Furthermore, the pair had a skill set that would match that of such a crime duo. One person in the air to get the money, another on the ground, knowledgeable of loopholes and fraudulent schemes to ensure they would be able to utilize the ill-gotten gains. Another factor that connects McCoy and Dayton is their fondness for aviation. McCoy had experience as a pilot during his time in the military, and Dayton was rumored to have had his pilot training as well. The shared background in aviation raises the possibility of their paths crossing or having common acquaintances within the aviation community. A potential connection between McCoy and Dayton is further demonstrated by their alleged association with the Pacific Northwest. McCoy carried out his $500,000 hijacking in Utah, but had ties to Washington State, the same region where the Cooper hijacking occurred. Dayton, who had reportedly lived in the Pacific Northwest, adds yet another layer to the potential geographical overlap. It is important to note that these connections are largely speculative, and no concrete evidence has been presented to establish a direct link between McCoy and Dayton in relation to the D.B. Cooper case. The alleged connections between Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. and Barbara Dayton in the D.B. Cooper case remain speculative and unverified. While their proximity in terms of time and certain shared characteristics raise interesting possibilities, the true extent of any potential association or collaboration between them remains unknown. We go where the money goes. In 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram uncovered a stack of decaying $20 bills, totaling $5,800, while he was digging along the banks of the Columbia River in Washington State. These bills were confirmed to be part of the ransom money that had been given to D.B. Cooper during their hijacking, verified by serial numbers printed on the bills. The discovery occurred about 9.6 kilometers or 6 miles downstream from Vancouver, near the town of Ariel. The location was consistent with the flight path of the hijacked plane, with some speculating the money floated for a number of days before landing, being buried in the embankment for 9 years. The bills were badly deteriorated, indicating that they had been exposed to the elements for an extended period. The serial numbers on the recovered bills matched the series of notes that were given to Cooper as ransom. This provided strong evidence that the money was indeed part of the ransom package, although the exact circumstances of how the money ended up in that specific location remained unknown. There are several theories regarding how the money was deposited along the river bank. One possibility is that the money was scattered by natural forces such as river currents and erosion over time. Another theory suggests that Cooper intentionally buried or hid the money in that location, perhaps intending to retrieve it later but never getting the chance to do so. Some even postulate that Cooper laundered the money through Las Vegas casinos, gambling the gains to clean as much of the income as possible and have a good time while doing so. Unfortunately, this has been disproven as none of the serial numbers of the stolen money matches any that circulated the casinos or the United States. The money just vanished. The tale of D.B. Cooper is undoubtedly one that will echo through time as the almost perfect crime, weaving an intricate web of coincidences, conspiracies, and confusion. We may never know who D.B. Cooper actually was, but it's truly fun to speculate. Did we miss any information regarding these suspects? Are there any others you would have liked to have seen us discuss with you? Let us know in the comments below. And dear viewer, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you enjoy true crime content and want to see more.